It's another great book by America's favorite storyteller, Pat Conroy. Even got this one signed. This is a great book about Pat Conroy's disturbing childhood and how finding a love for basketball really changed the path of his life. If you love being on a team and you love the joy you get from being on a team, My Losing Season is for you.
The Red Queen, where Graceling meets The Selection, where Hunger Games meets Game of Thrones. If you like fantasy, intrigue, drama, betrayal, and a little romance, this is the book for you.
Okay, you should read Anya's Ghost for a number of reasons. Reason number one, there's a Russia connection. Reason number two, it's kind of creepy. Reason number three, it is a story about a girl struggling with feeling like an outcast and finding self-empowerment. It's uplifting, it's a little bit scary, not too scary, and it's super fun, and you will love it.
Hi, my pick is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. It is a great romance. It's about Maddie, who is 18, and she has not left her house in 18 years. And she meets Ollie, the boy next door, and it's their love story. It's a wonderful read. But you don't have to take my word for it because it's a Volunteer State Book Award nominee, and it's also one of the top 16 titles checked out by Harpeth Hall students. And it's going to be made into a movie this May. So check it out. I hope you fall in love with Maddie and Ollie and their love story.
Hello, I'm Dr. Schott, and I'm sponsoring a book called Your Inner Fish by Neal. And if you've ever heard the term missing link and are curious about what that means, this is the book for you because it talks about a good example of an organism, a fossilized organism that was discovered in northern Canada that is the link between amphibians and fish. So if you're a science person, you want to learn more about evolutionary biology, this is the book for you.
Hi, I'm so excited to talk about this book that I have absolutely loved called The Zookeeper's Wife. And so if you are interested in a true story but feels somewhat like fiction, it has drama, it has a heartfelt story. It makes you want to adopt baby cheetahs. I want to go adopt some baby lynx and baby cheetahs. It's also a very historical novel, which means that there is, since it's World War II, there are some really tough parts, but it's so worth it. It's such a great read. So I really hope that you all will be interested in reading The Zookeeper's Wife as much as I have loved it. Thank you.
Challenger Deep is a wonderful story about a young man who's fighting to hold on to his sanity. And in the end, as he fights to hold on to reality, reality eventually loses. The kicker in this book is that the author is also the father of this boy who is a real person who has suffered through all these things. This is a book you should not miss reading.
Sapiens is the most exciting book I've read in a long time. I picked it up at a bookstore and I read it this past summer. And it is a world history book, but it is just a beautiful marriage between history and science and a pretty concise history of humanity, and tackles all these big questions. Why do humans have religions? What makes humans so special that they were able to conquer the whole world? Was the Industrial Revolution a good thing or a bad thing? And so if you're interested in those kind of big philosophical questions and you're interested in history and those big concepts and ideas, I think you might want to check out Sapiens.
What if a foreign government decided to infiltrate the United States and change our government and policies? What if a Medal of Honor recipient and the son of a prominent political family was that foreign agent? Read The Manchurian Candidate and find out the story and understand America's fears during the Cold War.
1984 is a classic dystopian novel where a tyrannical government run by Big Brother controls every aspect of people's lives, including rewriting history and distorting reality to support the party. But Winston Smith is someone who dreams of rebellion. You'll have to read the book, though, to find out what happens to him.
Growing Up True is an enchanting memoir of a little boy growing up in Colorado from ages 7 to 17. He wants so much to be like his dad and his brothers, and he just isn't. It has really cute vignettes from his childhood that are really funny, and you'll find yourself wanting to read it too quickly because it's so fun to read it that you want to slow down because you don't want it to end. I hope you really enjoy the book.
One of the favorite books I read all year was The Memory of Light by Francisco Stork. I like to think about it as the bell jar meets the breakfast club. We have our protagonist, Vicky Cruz, who at the beginning of the book wakes up from a failed suicide attempt. And while that sounds really harsh and difficult to read, the power of the book is that she finds her own hidden strength and learns to grow from her therapy, from the therapy members that she is associated with. That's the breakfast club part, and really finds a way to control her own world. So it's a very uplifting book, and it's also one of the most well-written books I've read all year.
I cannot recommend enough Annie Dillard's An American Childhood. You may have heard of her prize-winning Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, which is a fabulous read as well, but I have a real affinity for An American Childhood. It is a memoir of her growing up ages 8 to about 16 in Pittsburgh, mid-century. And I love it because she describes so well through a child's eyes what was a wonderful childhood. It's beautiful writing, it's a lovely story, and I hope that you will enjoy it as much as I do.
If you like the book Between Shades of Grey or the book All the Light You Cannot See, I think one book you'll really also enjoy is called Salt to the Sea, and it's by Ruta Sepyts. Ruta is a Nashville author. She writes a lot of historical fiction, and she puts a lot of young characters in her book. So I think you'll be able to relate to the characters of Joanna, Amelia, and Florian. They overcome many obstacles. There's a journey through this whole book, and I think you'll really enjoy reading it. Come and read it with me. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't see you. Come on in. Sit down. I'm sorry you had to see me like this. I know it's been 4 years and I should be over it by now. I know what you're thinking, but I just keep thinking of Missy and what happened to her. Sorry, this just came in. Dear Mac, meet me at the shack. Papa? No way, I haven't spoken to my father in years. There's no way I'm going to speak. Wait a minute. That's what my wife used to call God.
Even though Coming of Age in the Milky Way is a book about science, it's really a very interesting book written as a story. It humanizes science because it lets you get to know the big names in science, people like Ptolemy, Kepler, Galileo, as real people who, even though they're very brilliant, they've got these really endearing eccentricities and foibles. The book covers a wide range of history, from the Egyptians, who really thought of the sky as like a big tent around the world, to modern-day quantum theory.
So I would recommend to everyone A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest. This is a novel that is set in 1940s rural Louisiana. It's about an African-American community that is having to endure a racist justice system. There is a character, a young man named Jefferson, who's been jailed unfairly, and there's a teacher, Grant Wiggins, who's told he has to visit Jefferson in jail and teach him how to be a man while he's in jail, and he's facing a death sentence. And Grant is struggling with this concept of manhood himself and thinks he has no answers, but he has to go visit Jefferson, and he learns so much from Jefferson in the process about manhood. So it's a novel about many things, but it is also about what we learn from our students. And you will need a box of Kleenex, I have to say, at the end.
Hi everyone. I chose a book called The Art of Racing in the Rain because it was one of those books that the characters just stayed with me long after I finished reading it. And the main character is a dog by the name of Enzo, and the story is told from his perspective. And if you're not a dog lover, I would say it doesn't matter. This story is really about what it means to be human. And through Enzo, who really is a philosopher and a dog who aspires to be a human being, and he studies the human condition through his family and really explores compassion, what it means to maintain hope in the face of challenges that everyone encounters in life. And his story is just one that I think you'll really connect with and love. But be warned, it's heart-wrenching, it's moving, and it just made me feel really good about people and what it means to be human, and made me look at dogs a little bit differently too.
Commonwealth, a novel by Ann Patchett. One Sunday afternoon in Southern California, Bert Cousins shows up at Franny Keating's christening party uninvited. Before evening falls, he has kissed Franny's mother, Beverly, thus setting in motion the dissolution of their marriages and the joining of two families. Ann Patchett is one of my favorite writers. I have not read this book yet, but I am so excited to read it because I have read almost all of her other books, and she never fails to move me. I know this will be a page turner, and I hope you'll join me in enjoying this fabulous book.
I loved reading Hip Hop Family Tree by Ed Piskor because it's a musical and social history of hip hop music and how it came out of the housing projects of New York City in the 1970s. I love that the style, the graphic novel style format is reminiscent of the comic books of that exact era. So it looks like a 70s Marvel comic. Fascinating background on hip hop in the late 70s, early 80s. Looks at artists including African Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and many others. Warning, it does have mature language, as you would imagine, for a book about hip hop. So it's not a book for everybody, but if it interests you, jump on board.